Here's how we do a retirement simulation program in Excel. First of all, I'm going to save this as a macro-enabled workbook. So save as Excel macro-enabled workbook. I've already done that. First thing I want to do, I want to make this look good. I like to get rid of that first column. We need a list of inputs. We need to spell inputs correctly. Margin center, bold, italics, underline. What inputs do we need? Well, I want to know how many more years this guy's going to live. So let's say we have a guy who's 65 years old comes to us and says, I think I got 25 years left in me. Okay. What's your initial wealth? Initial wealth. We're also going to need what kind of draw the guy wants to make. So call this annual draw. So he's going to live another 25 years. He has now, let's say, $2 million. Let's put this in a nice format. He has $2 million now. He wants to withdraw $150,000 every year. He has an expected return on his portfolio of 10%. The volatility of that portfolio is going to be let's call it 30%. Okay, so I think those are all the inputs that he needs and the outputs we're looking for. Margin center. I want to know his ending or final wealth. Okay, so in doing the Visual Basic program, what we do is the following. Come over here to Insert Module, Insert Procedure, keep it as a subroutine, name it right here. Let's name it Retirement Sim. Okay, so now we're going to put all the statements that we need to write between these two lines of code. First thing we need to do is read in the inputs. So I can start out and say years, and rather than typing the word years, I'm going to have YRS, and I'll show you why. Say worksheets, and then you tell it which worksheet to look at. So what you do over here is, I don't want to name this sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3. So we're telling Excel, we're telling the program to come and look and find this number. Okay, how does it know we want that number? Well, we need to tell it, let's call this worksheet retirement plan, or just retire plan. Okay, so back over here we tell it, look in worksheet retire plan, and dot range, and the range is a specific cell name. So what cell? Let's name that cell years. Okay, so if we do that, it has no idea where to look. This is not the name of the cell. This years is just text in the cell. I need to name this cell. It's named C2 now, and change it to years. And now Excel knows, hey, go and find the variable that's in the worksheet called retirement plan. It's in the cell years. Whatever that number is, we're going to call that YRS. You can name it dog, cat, wherever you want to name it, as long as it's not a name that's already being used by Excel. And it's that simple. You just have to tell Excel precisely where to look. So here we want to have name this. Let's just name it wealth. Let's name this one draw. Let's name this expected return. Let's name this volatility. Okay, go back over here and we can say wealth is equal to, now I don't have to name worksheet, it already knows worksheet retirement plan. As long as you want to look in the same worksheet, you don't have to tell it where to look, it just will assume you want to be in retired plan. If you wanted to go to sheet 2, you'd have to tell it that here, and you want to find cell that's called wealth. Expected return, you want to find the cell that's named expected return. And once again, you don't have to have this EXRET does not have to match this. This has to be the name of the cell. This can be anything. This could be dog, cat, or whatever you want it to be. So vol is equal to range vol. And I believe that's everything. Now our final wealth, we need to name that, call that F wealth for final wealth. I'm going to skip a bunch of steps here. I did miss one. I didn't say draw. So draw is equal to range draw. Okay, for the output, we're going to say range. Where do we want our output to go? We want to go in final wealth. So just tell Excel where you want the output to go, and tell what that Excel what the output is equal to. Let's just say YRS for years. Now to run this, click this button right here. Go over to Excel and look what the output was, 25. What Excel did, it picked up the number of years, and you told Excel to put the number of years right there. Doing this, running at this step, lets me know I've put everything in correctly. If I didn't spell draw correctly and I ran it, it would say debug this, say, oh, there's something bad here, there's something wrong in this. I didn't spell draw right, but still, now I can run it and see that it works. Right? I can run it from here. You can also reset. If anything, you can stop and reset right here. You can clear stuff away. So what do we do next? At this point, I want to say I want to run this guy's life. I'll say for I equals 1 to YRS. So we're going to let this guy live his life from 65 to 90, or for the next 25 years, and see what happens. Well, in the first year, his wealth, which started out, now this is different from maybe the mathematical equation you're thinking of, because this is an assignment. This is Excel is saying wealth is going to be equal to what's over on the right hand side here. So wealth is equal to the wealth you currently have, which is $2 million, plus expected return times wealth. And let me put this out. Wealth right here. I'm going to get rid of this for loop. I'll put it back, but I want to show what's happening. If we just do this and run it, come over here, look what happened. Your $2 million went up by 10% to 2.2 million. Why did that happen? Excuse me. This said my wealth, whatever it is equal to $2 million. I know 2 million because it picked it up from right here, plus 10%, because it picked up 10% from right here, times my wealth of 2 million. So now wealth is worth 2.2 million. Now that you have that, let the cell that's called F wealth equal the result I had for here. Okay, so if this happens 1 year, you have excuse me, the wealth that you get is going to be equal to the wealth you currently have plus the return plus some random component. So volatility is the sensitivity to news. So how sensitive the portfolio is to news times the wealth times a news event. How do we simulate news? Well, I want news to be a draw from a normal distribution with mean 0, volatility 1. So in that case I have a 50% chance of good news, a 50% chance of bad news. Really good news is a large number, which is rare. Really bad news is a large negative number, which is also rare. So I can say application, and this is a syntax that doesn't necessarily make logical sense. It's just this is the rules of how you have to tell Excel what to do. Application dot worksheet function dot norms inverse RND open close parentheses. So what this is doing is saying I want to take RND is a uniform random variable from 0 to 1. Norms inverse is the inverse of the normal distribution. So this is giving me a draw from a normal 0, 1. That's all there is to it. So let's run this. See what happened. It's not exactly $2.2 million. It's the $2.2 million plus the random part. So now it was above 2.2. This was good news that time. Above 2.2, it was good news again, but not as good news. Above 2.2, every time it's, oh, now we're below 2.2, we had some bad news. Again, something bad happened. So half the time you're going to wind up with above 2.2, half the time below 2.2, usually pretty close, but sometimes far away. So this is running through that guy's life 1 year. So what I want to do, and then he's taking money out, by the way. So he's taking money out every year. So what I want to do is not just do this 1 year, but for I equals 1 to YRS for years. Next I. What that does, it does this 25 times. So it winds up with the ending wealth, which in the last case was $2.6 million, comes back through here. This is now 2.6 million. It goes up at 12%. It has some random shock to it. Then he takes out money. So we do that every time. Let's run this and see what happens. The guy winds up with $2.7 million. Let's run it again. Down $3 million. Run it again. Down $1 million. Down 1.5. He's still down quite a few times here. And of course, every time your number is going to be different. This move is expected to return up a little bit. He's still losing money. There he made money. There he lost. Let's take his random draw down to 100,000. And now he's much more likely to be positive. Now he's making a lot of money. Each time I'm running this is like a different 25-year life. It's like simulating the next 25 years of the guy's life. Okay, so that's how you do the simple simulation. Just a couple things here. If you had a misspelled word and you ran this, you would come up with this error, and this would light up, and there's something wrong in here. Application right there. You can hit the reset if you want to. Run, and now that works. Okay, so what I want you to do, and you're not going to do this by hand, but what I want to happen is I want to run this 1,000 times. Okay, in this particular case, the guy was left with $10 million. Actually, let me put this back to 150,000. Here the guy was left with $1.6 million. Write that number down. That was positive, so that's one positive. Write down that number, $6.9 million. That's positive. That's 2 positive. 2 positive and 1 negative. Write this number down. 3 positive and 1 negative. 3 positive and 2 negative. So I want to know, I'll call it percent of success. So what percent of the time are you positive? And what's your average final wealth? I want to figure that out, and I want to run that 1,000 times. So the way we do that is up to you largely. I want you to think about it. I'll give you some hints here. This is the number of trials we want to run. So I want to, what you've been doing by hand while I was showing you was running this over and over again, hitting this run button, writing down the numbers, run, write down the numbers, run, write down the numbers. So you want to do some sort of loop to make Excel do all that automatically. So you would have for, you can't use I, you could use anything else, J equals 1, 2, number of trials, but you'd have to read in trials equal, you know, you'd have to finish this out right there. And somewhere, I'm not sure where, maybe here, you would have next J. I don't know, maybe you would put it up here. I'm going to let you think about where you would want to have that. But I do know somewhere in here you're going to have, you need to have an if statement. So you'd say if something happens, if wealth was equal to 12, I mean that's not what you would use, but it's something if wealth is equal to 12, then if that's true, I'm going to say volatility is equal to 20, and if. Now I'm just making up ridiculous statements here, but what I want you to know, you can say if some statement, and then if that's true, then make Excel do this calculation, and here you stop that calculation. Okay, so that's it.